the city's plight. Shadows fall, dimming the light. Whispers grow, a rising tide. Vindicator, where do you hide? Fear is over, heart ablaze. Through smoky haze, he sets his gaze. Justice calls a burning need. A city's wounds he vows to heed. From cobbled streets to tower high, Vindicator takes to the sky. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Whispers turn to thunderous roar as shadows creep. He slams the door on tyranny's cruel, grasping hand. He fights for freedom, takes a stand with courage born of darkest night. He ignites hope, a guiding light. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Though battles rage and darkness reigns, hope's ember burns within his veins. He'll never yield, he'll never fall. He answers freedom's clarion call. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. A symbol etched against the moon. Vindicator rising soon.
Hello, everybody. How you all doing? So I've got Tom with me today. So I'm going to bring Tom in.
Yahoo!
Hey, Tom.
How you doing? How you doing?
How you all doing?
Ben? I'm good. I'm
You know
good.
what?
You?
You know what today, mate? I'm actually prepared. I've got a banner. Look. It's got your thing on it and everything.
Jesus Christ! Somebody got up early.
Yeah. As if you don't know already, this is Tom, 00 News. Why has that gone off? This is Tom, 00 News. Please go and check out his channel.
Yeah,
subscribe.
and then unsubscribe from it when you get there.
Yeah. There you go. Right. So first up, we've got. Oh, by the way, hello chat. And I forgot the chat.
Hi, chat.
Hi chat. How you all doing? Are we all doing really well? I can find the chat because now I've gone on banners. I can't find the chat. There we go. Found it. There we go. Hey everybody. Hey Steve. Moderators in there, keeping everybody in check. Thanks for that, Steve. Hi Tom. Hi Vin. Right. So before we get into the main thing, Tom. Right. Should we let everybody know what we're planning for the future? Because a lot of people last time asked for a more permanent podcast with us two doing it. So we're actually going to be doing that, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. So, I mean, it was because I couldn't see the chat so well because I was in the studio. So Vin was letting me know. I mean, people had said it a little while ago when we first started doing podcasts, but I didn't know there was that much demand for it. But Vin was saying you guys were talking about it a lot. So we actually do. We are aware that we do bounce off each other well as well, aren't we, Vin? So yeah. And the other thing as well was to why. Sorry, go on.
Somebody's already predicting a take. Yeah, Thursday. Well, you're probably spot on with that one because.
Wow. Wow. How did you? Yeah. Okay. How did you know that? That's cool. That's
So,
cool. Well, go
do
on.
you want to
Go,
do you
Vin.
want to explain to them what we're going to be doing, or do you want me to explain it, Tom?
I'll tell you what. Why don't you go ahead, and if there's anything I feel want to add, I can, can't I?
Okay, mate. Right. So what we've got planned is every Thursday. We don't know what time yet. The time will be floating because it's got to suit me and Tom when we actually do it. So it will be floating. It will be on a Thursday, and we will announce it before time when we're going to be doing and what time it's going to be doing. So what will happen is 1 week it will be on my channel, then 1 week it will be on Tom's channel. It'll be alternating. So you'll have to watch out for it. We will announce it. We'll promote it and stuff like that, so you know where and when and exactly it's going to be taking place. We're not going to announce the name yet because we're going to save that. We want it to be a bit of a surprise on the day, but it is going to be. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait because we've been talking about doing this for a very, very long time, about doing a podcast
Yeah.
together that's more permanent and where we can both get our ideas across and stuff like that. Because Tom, like me, it's very hard to hold a podcast on your own talking for a long amount of time. You need somebody in there to bounce off of, and so when you've done talking, somebody else can talk. It really does help, doesn't it, Tom?
And it also really, even just two minds, it's two sets of two different perspectives, can appeal to so many more people than what one person can when they're talking around in the head, because you can come a little bit conceited if you don't mean to. When you've got someone else there checking you, it makes the conversation more balanced. About that. Yes, you've got
Yeah.
every time, mate. Every time. If you've got someone else that's checking you, it also helps keep the conversation within sensible limits.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be one of those polished, uptight podcasts where everybody's prim and proper, everybody's wearing a suit and tie and that sort of stuff. That
Oh, isn't
there's no way,
it?
there's no way hell. This is just two people having a conversation, and you're coming along for that conversation. That's what it's going to be like. Is it, Tom?
I've just bought a suit and tie.
Sorry, Tom.
Fucking arsehole. No, yeah, no, it's right. It's kind of just a formalization of what we do. The other thing is as well, we've talked about our strengths and weaknesses, and the other thing about doing this together is that we can give you a promised day every week, and one way or another, there's going to be something there, and something that we put our heart and soul into. So it means that we can cover each other's back, strength and weakness wise, which means there'll always be something for you, because ultimately this is about you as well as us, because we want to give you the best that we can.
I've got to say this as well. What will happen sometimes is sometimes I won't be there, sometimes Tom won't be there, but there will be that podcast going ahead on that day,
Yeah.
no matter what. So
The show will go on no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
And
what I thought, Steve, was right. Maybe I'll get one of those T-shirts that looks like a suit and tie. Just have a T-shirt with a suit and tie on it. Just have one of those. That's more in my style of doing things. With just a pair of shorts on, obviously.
I'm thinking I was going to get a blow up sort of tie and shirt and that.
We'll come on the first time we're dressed as clowns, mate.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
people think we're clowns. We don't need the gear.
Yeah. Tom's currently working on an amazing intro. He's already got a really great theme for it. So more will be revealed next week, hopefully. But yeah. Right. So actually moving things on and getting on with today's live stream podcast, whatever you want to call it. I want to talk about Jonathan Pye again. I want to get Tom's opinion on this, because Jonathan Pye has put his finger in the pie. He's put his foot in it, shall we say, again, because this is what happens when you've got these. Jonathan Pye is a sort of person that we refer to Middle Englanders as uneducated. He's a sort of person that would do that because he's in his own little London metropolitan bubble where they look down on us, where they think we're the plebs, we're uneducated, we're the ones that don't know how to think, and we make mistakes, stuff like that. I'll show you this. This is hilarious. Right, we'll get into it. Share screen again. All right, where are we? You know what? I don't think I've even got it up, mate.
It's all right. Take your time.
Actually, yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've just remembered. Yeah, I have. Right, we'll share that. But we need to go down first. But that we'll come into that in a minute. It's on here, actually. It's here. Is it? No. Back. Here we go. This is it. Can you see it? Is that on screen?
Yeah.
Right. So this is what Jonathan Pye said. UKIP's proposed new logo, effing hell. Right. So Jonathan Pye's making the common lefty mistake that he thinks that this logo of UKIP, the new UKIP logo, is something to do with the German Nazi army. He thinks this is the Iron Cross. When it isn't really. This is the Templar cross, and that spear going through it is actually the spear of destiny. That's supposed to be the spear that pierced the side of Jesus Christ when he was on the cross, and that's how the Romans finish him off on the cross. So once again, he's an idiot. We'll have a look at this. Hang on, I've got to reshare it because you've got to do this in StreamYard.
You've got to admit, it was a bit of a ball drop by UKIP though, because they should have realised that people were going to fucking try
Obviously, that. Yeah, I mean, there were better logos, mate. There were better logos they could have used.
Yeah, it was stupid just simply because it was obvious what would be done with something like that. You know.
Yeah, they were always going to do that. But this is where this is the actual cross. This is what it actually stands for. So the Templar cross, also known as the cross of, I can't even pronounce that, I'm not even going to attempt it, is a significant symbol associated with the Knights Templar, a medieval Christian military order. Its red cross with arms that flare outward from the narrow centre, officially granted by Pope Eugenius III in 1147. The emblem represented the Templars' commitment to chivalry, faith, and loyalty during the Crusades. The Templar cross was not worn by the knight, not only worn by the knights, but also depicted on seals, standards, and tombstones, reflecting its importance in medieval life and hereditary. And the thing is, this has been taken and used by different factions throughout history. So what's your take on it? Go on, Tom.
And as well, just on top of that, if you look at what's going on the right at the moment, the increasing religion, the talk of crusades, everything else, this is in line with everything on the right in terms of what they're doing religiously in their crusade talk. Nothing to do with the Third Reich, nothing to do with Germany, nothing to do with anything like that. This fits much more in with the actual narrative they've been trying to build on the right. So it's there for all to see what it is. It's a crusader symbol. And he's showing either how ignorant and uncultured he is, or he's deliberately distorting the truth.
Yeah, the thing is, right, this is just giving them ammo, though. That there were so many other logos they could have used. I agree with them changing the logo because the pound sign.
Sorry, Vin, just one more thing I should have said. Here's the other thing as well. There's so many people around the world and on the internet that believe the Templars still exist, and they actually kind of do. But more to the point, there's a lot of conspiracy attached around them. Again, attaching yourself to that is showing a lack of awareness to the internet.
Yeah, they just didn't. It's not been thought through very well, has it? And the thing is, right, saying that they're building this narrative, Nick Tenconi has been giving mixed messages regarding his stance on things anyway. I mean, he's putting out this stance that he's a warrior, he's a fighter, but then in other circumstances, he's saying we're not going to fight, and it's like it's schizophrenic. The message from UKIP over the last few months has been totally schizophrenic.
Or is it high-minded? Vin, is it we can fight by using our higher intellect, and are people still living in that dream?
You see. I would say yeah, but then you look at Nick Tenconi in the past, what he said. You know, after Charlie Kirk was brutally murdered, he was saying, "We must fight. We're being murdered. We must fight."
Yeah, true.
And then when like, it doesn't fit in with the narrative, does it? So
no, it doesn't. You're right.
But yeah, I just thought we'd cover that, just to prove.
Yeah, no, it's worth covering.
Moron.
It's worth covering, and he is a moron. An ignorant moron, actually, surprisingly.
Definitely. Right, so later on we are going to be covering the digital ID thing that's going on at the minute, but I think the most important part of this, we're going to be doing segments that actually leads into that today. So Tom posted me some links to some articles about the attack on free speech and Keir Starmer's hypocrisy when it comes to Grok and the grooming gang inquiries. So we're going to cover the grooming gang inquiry article first, and I think Tom's going to take us through it, aren't you, Tom?
The grooming gang. Yeah, I mean, let's have a. You bring it up for a spin.
I'll bring it up, mate. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is obviously, I think it's semi-mainstream. So, if you can just get us on the text there, and I'll read it out for anybody that is listening, because I know people do tend to listen to podcasts. So, I've only got the first.
It's from Spiked, and it says Keir Starmer soft on grooming gangs, tough on Grok. So I'll take it down to the first paragraph, mate. There you go.
Okay, yeah. So it says AI creeps began using X's AI tool Grok to edit images of women, even children, undressing them and putting them in bikinis. UK Prime Minister Starmer quickly went on putting them in bikinis. Oh, what a crime! Starmer quickly went on the offensive. He attacked the social media platform. It's only Elon Musk and called the images disgraceful and disgusting. So first stop there is, why just Elon Musk? Every AI in the world had the same capability. Starmer has even given his full backing to Ofcom. By full backing, it means he's told them to do certain things. Investigation that could lead to an effective ban on X's operations in the UK. New law against creating a non-consensual intimate images. Non-consensual intimate images. And by the way, this affects making images for people that don't exist. So the non-consensual person that doesn't exist. To figure that one out. And at the time, he accused those of calling. Oh, have I got that right? Have we gone down? All this being done supposedly in the name of protecting women and girls, yet it's hard not to suspect an ulterior motive. More striking still, while Starmer has been quick to rage against Grok's grim pixels, again, not real is what that point of that is, his response to far greater real-world threats to women and girls has been found desperately wanting. Take the grooming gang scandal. On that stain on modern Britain, he barely managed a whisper of condemnation until Musk himself thrust it back into the public consciousness at the beginning of last year. Even then, Starmer was initially reluctant to say very much at all. No, he wasn't initially reluctant, if you remember, everybody. He refused to speak about it. And he got his ministers to run away from any other Labour ministers that tried to speak about it. He literally stopped them.
Let's not forget, he instructed his own MPs to vote against it, to vote against the grooming gang inquiry. So there's a contradiction there. There's definitely a contradiction there with what he's saying and what he actually does, isn't there?
And here's the twisted truth of what we're under. The next line says, "Oh, so under this tirade of far left and other crazy ideologies attacking us, his response to the grooming gangs was, at the time, he accused those calling for a national inquiry into the scandal of jumping on the far right bandwagon. He called us all racists."
You know what, Tom? Right? There's actually an investigation being done into his connection between Ofcom and the government, because Ofcom is supposed to be an independent entity.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a watchdog. It's not supposed to be guided by the government in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
If he's found to be doing so, they will be in big trouble.
The same things just happened with Trump in America. I mean, people claimed that he went to Ofcom to get somebody taken off the air. I don't know if that's true, but so Starmer's done it here. I think I said on my channel, been to kind of give this some perspective, is what I've been trying to say to people is that digitally online, he is trying to wipe out every freedom that we've got, and he's trying to put an iron curtain up around the UK.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, right, just at the time this is coming out, when he's instructing Ofcom to do certain things, the people in charge of Ofcom just got massive pay rises. Is that a coincidence or not a coincidence? Or they're being paid off to do certain things?
There are no coincidences, and so he's basically just changed AI. Britain has its own AI compared to the rest of the world. It is different from the rest of the world. We have much stricter AI. We have stricter internet rules. The ISPs have stricter internet rules. There are now journalists complaining that they can't get free information from other journalists in the UK. They don't have this problem with any other country in the world. He's destroying free speech, and he's trying to seal us behind a curtain.
Do you want me to scroll down, Tom?
Yeah, please. It's going off the gaming industry, all kinds of industries, but in the same way. So can you go back down a little bit, mate, so I can see the first line? Oh no, I got it. I got it. So it says, again, if you listen, for decades, thousands of vulnerable working class girls have been systematically abused by groups of largely Pakistani Muslim men in towns and cities across the UK. Their plight was ignored and worse by social services, the police and local councils. Many are still waiting for proper justice to this day, which I'll add they'll never get. Yet Starmer had the temerity to accuse those of drawing attention to it of it playing into far-right choir. This is actually a very good report. Since then, his government has launched a national inquiry into the scandal, have they? But
No, they
to say
haven't.
it's not, yeah,
Well,
I was going to say,
Well, this is the
but
thing, right? They've come
sorry.
under fire because they haven't properly implemented it yet. They keep stalling it and holding it
From my
off.
understanding, Labour MPs keep trying to suggest to talk to him about it, and he keeps brushing them off, telling them shut up, basically.
Yeah, he's got no intentions. He initiated the so-called inquiry to bury it. That's what they're going to do. They said, we've initiated it. Yeah,
Even
but
sorry, Ben,
it'll probably not come into effect until we're way out of power.
Yeah,
That's what he's doing it for.
yeah. And it even says here, look, mate, it says, but to say it's not going well is an understatement. Finding someone to chair it has proved painful. In October, several grooming gang victims on the liaison panel charged with advising the fledgling inquiry resigned over the fears the inquiry's remit was being diluted to the point of meaninglessness. The government's whole approach to the grooming gang scandal has been characterised by delays, dodgy dismissals, and zero urgency. And we're seeing this.
You know what happened there, don't you? They diluted it. They not only was it about Pakistani grooming gangs, it was about all sexual assault. That's what they did it for.
Yeah, and this is you said how this is leading into the digital IDs. Well, just quickly, there is some consistency here because this is also his attitude towards the digital IDs. He's dropping the fight to make it about immigration now. That lie has been discarded now. It's not about immigration anymore. But we'll come to that. Yeah. And how does Starmer's government respond to public concern over so-called migrant hotels? Those came to the Bell last summer in Epping when protesters gathered outside the Bell Hotel after one of its residents, an Ethiopian asylum seeker, was arrested for sexually assaulting a woman and a 14-year-old girl. Incredibly, although Labour's official policy stated that the migrant hotels should be closed, the Home Office nevertheless fought tooth and nail, using every legal power at its disposal to keep the Bell Hotel open. What's more, on Labour's watch, illegal migration has soared. Scores of unvetted men have flowed into the country, often with disastrous results for women and girls in particular. Yet Starmer has shown no urgency to responding to the migrant crime wave. No, what he did was after the grooming gang inquiry got brought up, about 2 weeks later, when the news cycle died down, he then reversed back on everything and said, no, we need more migrants. In the light of all this, sorry, go on.
I think the only thing that this proves is that everything that Keir Starmer said about Grok is rubbish. He doesn't care about the safety of girls and women. He cares about controlling Grok and X.
Yeah.
That's all they're bothered about. Nothing to do with anything else.
Grok is the only right-wing media we've got in the UK. And that cannot be allowed. It's the only place where we got to speak freely. But even when I pass through my own AI stuff, who is born from these places, when I said, Elon won't put any restrictions on, he doesn't have to, and this thing got back to me and said, actually, he's already putting just restrictions on before he has to. He's already complying. And if you go and try and make those images now, you'll see he has already complied. But it's not just the images. And it's the same with other things like Google panicked. I don't know why they panicked, but they panicked when Starmer started going on about all this. So now they've nerfed even more of Google's abilities, AR or otherwise. So nobody's getting what they paid for because of Starmer's absolute paranoia about us having any information, and this is the crazy thing, is there's one common denominator to all of this. It's not dirty images, it's not anything else. It's us having access to the truth and each other seems to be the biggest problem.
That's it. He's terrified. He's absolutely terrified of losing power. He's scared that this is going to be the place where the revolution is planned.
Yeah.
He's terrified of it because this is where it will happen.
He wants everything to be everything that we talk and say to have gone through a pre-approved filter.
Everything has. I mean, look, the first thing that anybody that gets into power, and I'm not putting any faith into that system whatsoever, is that these institutions, these NGOs like Ofcom and stuff like that, they need to be disbanded completely.
Yeah.
Got rid of.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we leave that article there? Because I think we probably got the best out of that. And then.
Okay, mate. Yeah. Which one do you want to cover now? Do you want to cover the attack on free speech one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. So I've not read this one, so this might be interesting. There you go, Tom. Tell me where to scroll down, mate. So this is free speech under attack in the UK. The country's censorship regime is targeting ordinary Britons. I think we knew that already, though, didn't we?
I think it's worth mentioning that people around the world, whether they be journalists, just normal people, are beginning to see what's happening. Not beginning, they're seeing what's happening in Britain now. And you can see in podcasts, even when they're not talking politically, there's an eye roll going on when Britain's mentioned. Oh, that place you can't get information from. Oh, that place that won't cooperate with the most simplest, most benign request. Britain is the problem in the world at the moment to a lot of countries that used to have quite an open relationship with us. They can't speak to us anymore. The journalists can't ask for information. Our journalists aren't handing it over like they used to.
Well, look at the BBC's Verify. Look at that. It's basically just the Ministry of Truth from either the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany. That's all it was. It's just propaganda. It's just the ability to say that you're misinformation and we're real. But it's not.
Exactly.
It's not in reality.
Exactly. Right. So free speech is at its lowest ebb. I think this may actually be from a few months back. Yeah, this is from September. But I wanted to start in September because it just shows how long it's been going on for. Free speech is at its lowest ebb. It has been in Britain since the 18th century. The UK Free Speech Union's founder and president Toby Young recently ennobled told me over lunch at the House of Lords last week that the Peers' dining room was sedate. The average age in the upper house of British Parliament is 70. Beyond the Palace of Westminster's well-guarded gates, the United Kingdom is in crisis, especially in the realm of free expression. Since Keir Starmer's Labour Party returned to power last year, Young's organisation, which offers advocacy and representation for people facing consequences for the speech, has now seen membership skyrocket. It's risen from 14,000 in July 2024 to 35,000 now, and this was September 2025. He says, alongside a record number of requests for help, can we go down?
Yep, there you go, mate.
2 days before our launch, the United Kingdom, one of the largest demonstrations in Britain's modern history, this is the UTK March, drew a crowd of well over 100,000 people into London streets. It was led by controversial free speech activist Tommy Robinson, often derided as far right and whose own views have gotten him in trouble with the law. Hundreds of police officers cordoned off Trafalgar Square, leaving open a small corridor to Nelson's Common, where a vanguard of marchers sang God Save the King, Rule Britannia, and other patriotic songs. Many waved the Union Jack for St. George's Cross, the flag of England, both of which have become popular symbols of national sovereignty and resistance to Starmer's increasingly disfavoured government. The country's current government, though, would have the world believe nothing is wrong. We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time, Starmer said during an Oval Office visit in February. At a joint press conference with President Trump after the American leader's state visit to the UK earlier this month, Starmer promised to guard free speech. Unbelievable. Jealously and fiercely, calling it one of his country's founding values. Well, then he knows what he's Nevertheless, many in Britain feel that the country's censorship laws have gone too far. The Online Safety Act, for example, passed in 2023 and fully in effect as of July. accords. Government regulators broad authority over forms of expression they deem offensive, and this is the wild card.
Yeah,
They are
you
using
know what,
words like
right?
offensive and safe to mean anything.
This is the danger. When you allow your government to decide what is offensive and what isn't offensive, you're in real trouble, because
Yeah,
they can anything that's against them, that's offensive. Anything that's against the demographic that they support, it's offensive.
we're
That's the
using.
danger.
There's actually a name for what we're doing in this country. It's called the flexible wall system. Okay, so in Europe at the moment they're using something called the fixed wall system, same as what they use with their AA, by the way. But it's the same thing with how they deal with other things. Something's either good or bad, right or wrong, on the right side of the law, wrong side of the law. That's how it works. Here we have a flexible wall system, meaning that no wall is really unmalleable because an ice cream can be offensive in the right context. Therefore, any word could get you in prison.
It's subjective though, isn't it? Anything can be deemed
Exactly.
offensive.
Exactly.
Anything.
And anybody can take offense over anything they choose to, especially if they want to get you in trouble.
I mean, we've got to remember what the actual criteria is for something being offensive. You don't have to provide evidence; you just have to feel offended. How do you provide evidence of your feelings? You can't,
A-
can you?
And people are, yes, exactly. And people are backing up the idea still that speech is equal to violence.
Yeah, this has been a long-standing thing of the social justice warriors, though, that speech is equal to violence, and it's this fundamental change that has done all this. This is why we have hate laws in the first place. It's like, well, the me saying something to somebody is the equivalent to me punching them in the face, when it really isn't. It's not at all, because if I punch you in the face, then I cause you some harm. When I say some words to you, you have a choice whether or not you take offense to them. That's the difference. You can simply walk away and think, I'm not going to give no power to that person. Those words mean nothing to me, which is what most sensible adults do. I mean,
If I corner you and I don't let you go and I use some tactic to bully you into forcing you to listen to my words, maybe there is where you draw the line, because that's bullying, it's
and
harassment.
Tom, the ironic thing is that's exactly what the social justice warriors are doing. They're changing language to force you to accept their ideology. That's exactly
Yep,
what they're doing.
exactly. And what they've done to try and get us to accept their ideology is every time you disagree with it, oh, you're a racist, you're far right, you're bigot, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, always framing you as evil. The moment you just say, no, that's not right.
Well, look at what's happened. This is why the hate laws in the first place, right? So if you state biological fact about trans people, that's offensive. That's a crime. Can't say
Right,
that. You must
right.
accept our language. If you don't accept our language, you are a criminal. That's what they're
And
saying.
the thing of it is, so they've in 2023, I think it was from, they they arrested 12,000 people for what they've written online. And I saw people defending it, saying, "Oh, a lot of those people would have been sending death threats and all the rest of it, and a lot of those people would have just reposted something."
See, I've got something to say that the laws that we have need to be clearly defined, because in America, to be classed as a death threat, you have to send it to a specific person and a specific location, and it has to be more than two,
This is
which
what
would
I'm
be
saying, Ben. We need
uh,
hard walls. None of this
yeah.
flexible wall bullshit. The law.
And this
This is lawful. This isn't.
this is how they got Lucy Conley, because under US free speech laws, she wouldn't have been arrested, because you would have had to have stated a specific site that you wanted to be burnt down and encourage people to actually go there and do it.
Yes.
Whereas she didn't do that. She didn't do that in her post. All she said was a general statement, and that
Yeah.
wouldn't have been considered as inciting violence under US law. And that's a similar law we need to have in this country. More
Yeah.
clearly defined distinctions of where and when the line is drawn. That's what we need.
And we also need to understand something else that's going on now. So, right, free speech Starmer talked about guarding free speech, and it's a shame he didn't mean it, because that's exactly what needs to happen. It doesn't need to be changed and moved around. It needs to be guarded and left alone, because, like you said, who do you want deciding what's right and wrong speech? No one. So it's saying that should be guarded. But not only have they started to tell you what you can't say, but they're beginning to mandate what you can and criminalizing it. And that's a whole different ball game.
I mean,
Now
let's
we
just talk
really
about
are.
let's just talk about this briefly as well, because you and I, we get lots of comments in our comment section saying that we don't go far enough in the things that we say. The thing is, when you operate on these platforms, you've got a very thin, narrow corridor of what you can and cannot say, and you have to stay within that corridor. Otherwise, you lose your platform. Now, we have to make a tactical decision with that and decide, is it really worth saying the things that we want to say, really, and losing the platform and then losing our ability to wake other people up? Or is it just better to stay within that corridor for the time being and work within their rules whilst fighting against it?
And here's the other thing as well. And I'm going to be straight with you guys. Like, I think 80% of people won't jump from this platform to any other. So
No.
you have to take that into account as well. I've already said, like, with what I'm doing, I'm sure Vin will be the same. I'm quite happy to make uncensored videos going all the way down to the core, but I can't release them here because they won't last 5 minutes.
I'll be honest with you. If the audience followed me over to Rumble and followed Tom over to Rumble, we could say a hell of a lot more over on there than we can here.
Yeah,
Hell of a lot
yeah.
more.
I've got a massive, not massive, but I've got a fast growing audience on Getter now. I can say what I want over there. But here, unfortunately, we need to use this to generate the momentum to be able to make the uncensored videos elsewhere, unfortunately, and do what we can to tell the truth on here. We don't have control of our free speech on here. The idea that creators are in control is an idea that's lingered from when we did actually have control. We've lost our control now.
It's not just on here, Tom. There's a thin corridor of free speech online. There's a thin corridor of what we can actually say out in the real world as well, because we live in the UK. We don't have free speech in this country.
Oh yeah, the doors could come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. So yeah, I mean, don't think that our minds don't go there. That's all I'll say. Is don't think our minds don't go there. We just know that in order to keep our signal open with you guys, there's a limit to what we can say here. We're assuming that you will pick up on it and know it'll be our unspoken truth.
I think Steve's brought up here, in the USA, it has to be a valid threat, but significantly, the case of Craig Robertson in Utah, who was shot dead by FBI in 2023 because he threatened Biden, although he was a cripple in a wheelchair. It could still be a credible threat. I mean, I've seen it in Iraq where you've had people in wheelchairs that have had IEDs attached to them. So just because they're in a wheelchair doesn't not make them a threat.
Absolutely. I totally hear that. Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing as well. I also understand that with free speech, if I go up to someone in the street and start calling them start doing stuff, I'd take the risk of getting punched in the mouth. And that may not be legally right, I wouldn't go to the police about that person because I knew what I was doing when I said what I said.
This might be controversial, but I don't agree with people being arrested for swearing in the street. If you take offence to that, that's on you.
Yeah,
that's on you.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. And also, that's a cop will threaten to arrest somebody for swearing, but my mate, for instance, he can't stop swearing. It's just part of who he is, and they totally ignore it when he does it because they know he can't stop it. They'd be arresting him every 5 minutes otherwise. So
from what I understand, that's taken the Section 5 Public Order Act to its extreme levels for arresting people for speech on the streets. It's the extreme boundaries of that.
Yeah, it's when they're looking to get someone, isn't it? You know?
Definitely.
I think anyway. But yeah, I don't like it if you say stub your toe. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's a good point. Stub your toe next to a policeman. Fuck. You know? What's he gonna do? Arrest you?
So Steve's saying the point I was making was, how would he reasonably travel from Utah to DC? I think it's quite possible, Steve. It's not impossible, is it, for him to travel to that distance if he really wanted to do it? Like I said, if he was in another country, I could probably say, yeah, that's probably not realistic. But when you're in the same country, it's a little bit less credible, isn't it? It is possible for you to do it. And if he has made a direct threat.
I was watching something the other day. I mean, somebody on a podcast jumped on their motorbike just on the off chance and rode 1,300 miles in America down to Connecticut, wherever it was, where the person that they were going to confront was, but they were going to confront an old friend. But nevertheless, they went 1,300 miles on their motorbike down there, just jumped on. So it's very doable over there, and they do things like that.
Right,
if you look at the case of the Liver King and Joe Rogan recently, that's a perfect example of a man who was on his way to Joe Rogan, and then also was seen with a knife, and then the police shut him down, took him in because he was
Right,
traveling.
So,
Sorry.
Steve, I'm just looking at this from a pure perspective of law enforcement, how they would see this, because flight isn't the only route of access you can take to get down to DC, is it? You don't have to take an aeroplane.
Motorbike.
Yeah. Well, this guy's crippled, Steve.
Oh,
he's
right, yeah.
So that doesn't mean he can't drive, though.
Mm.
Doesn't mean he can't get on a train.
Exactly. No,
So
I agree.
if they would probably see it as a credible threat because he doesn't have to get on an aeroplane. And who's to say, because guns are readily available in America, he doesn't have to take the weapon on an aeroplane. He could simply travel on a plane and get a weapon when he gets to the location he's going to.
Yeah, especially if I don't know the laws in the places he's going to, but it depending on what the gun laws are. I mean, some states you can have a gun exposed, other states there's different rules for each one. So if he knows the rules, I mean, this is how a lot of them do get away with things. So they know the rules for each state, and they'll use them accordingly. Well, I think they have to take it more seriously over there. Like I say, look at the case of the Liver King versus Joe Rogan. They had to arrest him.
Yeah, I mean, this logic is a bit flawed, Steve, today. Right, so VSB, they went to the guy's house where he knew he was, shot him because he refused to answer the door. Well, if you've got nothing to hide, you comply with what the police want you to do. Yeah?
I can't. So let me understand this. They shot. Are you saying they shot through the door and killed him? Just so I'm clear.
I think he refused to come to the door. So they shot him through the door. See, I don't know the ins and outs of this. I can only go on what I'm thinking, that he didn't comply or he was doing something that he shouldn't have done. Now, I'm not fully...
With the arms, Steve.
I can accept I can be wrong on this, but from my logic, if you ask to come to the door, then you come to the door, you comply. Yeah.
I mean, if there was any weapons involved, or if he's got weapons or whatever else, that changes everything as well. It changes the complexion. So I don't know. I don't actually know enough.
Yeah, I believe so. But remember, he was a cripple. That makes no difference, mate. When I was out in Iraq, the amount of people that were cripples that were considered legitimate threats, you immediately, they told us this: don't take your eye off the ball just because you think they're disabled. Yeah, because they're the ones that are going to get you. The minute you take the eye off the ball, they're the ones that are going to kill you. So I'm looking at this from a military point of view as well. It's like, just because the guy's a cripple doesn't mean I exclude him from being a threat. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would think that if he's, like I say, if he's carrying any weapons, if he's got any weapons, got access to any weapons, they have to take that so seriously.
Right. So he was a convicted felon, so shouldn't have firearms. Yeah, but Steve is a criminal. That doesn't mean he's going to obey the law, does it? Yeah. Criminals don't usually obey the law. He might have a legal firearm.
If he's had any firearms before, if any of his offences have had firearms involved in them, the likelihood is he's more likely to go back and get more. In America, that's easy compared to here.
VSB, Iraq is a different place. Yeah, but the logic behind it isn't.
The mindset.
You don't exclude somebody just because you think they're a cripple. Yeah, if they've made death threats, they may be capable of carrying them out. Just because they're crippled doesn't mean they can't do it. I mean, obviously, if he's a quadriplegic and he's completely paralyzed and they can only steer his wheelchair with his mouth, then you've got a point.
But even so, like, if someone's sat in a wheelchair, right? What if they're wealthy? They could get a hit on you. They could get a hit on you.
Hang on a minute, Tom. You've answered your own question, Steve. Tom, yes, he was previously a dealer in firearms.
Right, but that's okay. That's my point, Steve. So, that's all I'm trying to say is the likelihood of him returning to firearms again is high, and they're going to have to think about that when they dealt with the situation. I'm not defending them because I didn't see it, but I'm just trying to. This is the whole point of me and Vin trying to get together to do this, is try and be as honest as possible.
Yeah, so you put this together, Steve, right? He doesn't answer the door. He's got a history of being a firearms dealer. He's got convictions for firearms. So you're going to go into that situation thinking we could be in trouble here. He's not answering the door.
You're not going to go in and go, oh, please let us in, just in case he stood there with a fucking gun.
Yeah. So I can kind of understand why they probably shot him if he wasn't answering the door or refused to answer the door. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of the case, so I can't really comment fully on it because I'm not fully informed about it. I can only go on what you're telling me, Steve. So he's got previous for being an arms dealer, for dealing in guns. He's made a death threat towards Biden, and then he's not answering the door. That would immediately make me suspicious.
So if someone said, why would you have to open your front door if you've done something wrong that has hurt people in society? Would be one reason, because you're accountable for it, and therefore you should open your door rather than get your head blown off because you've done something wrong and you have to go and answer for it.
Yeah, but Steve, there are other ways to travel to your target, mate. You don't have to just take an airplane.
Especially in America. Look at how a lot of the people do things in America. Coach, the Greyhound buses, yeah, the by car and stop at the motels. I mean, it's common. Like I say, jump on a motorbike. I know he's disabled, but if he can drive, same thing. They've got a different mindset. If you speak to people in Australia, they'll often have a different mindset about getting places than we do, because we live on a small little island, and to us, traveling to Scotland's a long way. To a lot of these people, it's not. But they have a different mindset towards distance than we do.
You've got to think about how the FBI would have looked at this, right? If he's determined to go that distance, he'll do it. If you want to kill somebody, if you're that angry and determined, you'll make it happen, regardless of how you feel. And you've got to look at his background. They would have looked at his background, and this is probably why they took him as more of a credible threat than anybody else. His background in firearms. That's the main thing they would probably have looked at and thought, this guy's a credible threat, even if he was in a wheelchair. Because security might do the same thing that other people do. Might think he's in a wheelchair, is no threat. You get people like that.
And the other thing as well, I think that
who's the most likeliest person to get closer to do this than somebody in a wheelchair? The least person you expect. I'm just saying, Steve. I'm just throwing it out there as a different opinion. You know, I'm not going to go. I'm just trying to go through your logic with you.
And again, Liver King was miles and miles away from Joe Rogan, but because he said what he said and because he appeared to be moving in that direction, it was enough for them to say he was a threat, and they arrested him for it in America because they could be armed. That was the reason.
Yeah, you're saying distance is criteria in this as a credible threat. It's not, because if you plan something out meticulously, which is probably what he could have done, then distance isn't a factor, is it?
No, and it wasn't like so. With the reason I mentioned the Joe Rogan case is because of the fact that Liver King's mistake was putting it online. So this guy may have done the same thing, but not online. The moment you start leaving a trail of "I'm going to do this online," and you're getting closer to your target, they will intercept you. Crippled, not crippled, doesn't matter if you're 3,000 miles away. If that 3,000 miles away turns into 2,900 miles and you're making bigger threats, they're going to stop you.
Like I said, we're not having a go, Steve. We're just going through the logic with you about your reasoning on this one. It's like I can understand how the FBI would feel about this. It's like the guy's got a history in firearms dealership. He's got convictions for firearms offences. He's made a threat towards the current president. Maybe that 3,000 miles suddenly doesn't become a criteria anymore. It becomes, this guy's on the list, sort of thing. All right. So VSB.
Anyway,
it is one of the factors used by the LEO as to whether a statement online is credible threat. Yeah, but there are mitigating circumstances as well. If you've got no background in firearms and you make a threat, they'll probably take you less seriously. If you've got a background in firearms, even though you're 3,000 miles away, they might take your threat a bit more seriously.
And what's the most important thing?
Investigate it. Of course, they're going to investigate it if you've got a firearms license.
And what's the most important thing in American law is precedent. The precedent's already been set, like I said, with Joe Rogan and other cases where people thousands of miles away who seem to be on course to try and do something were arrested because they weren't going to they weren't going to wait and see what happened.
And let's look at this as probably didn't happen, but let's say distance wasn't a factor anymore. Maybe this guy, you know, could have hired a hitman, go and kill him. Distance is no longer a factor, is it?
That's what I was mentioning earlier on. Yeah,
it's how much he really wanted to carry out this threat, and for the FBI to get involved, there were probably more to this story than we know.
I think that's the truth of it. It's the intent and the man's capability of seeing it through, crippled or not. If he's been capable of seeing it through in the past in any way, shape, or form, then he still is. You're either a killer or you're not.
Tom, precedent is the same as common law. It was the fact that the FBI was they're not out of control, though, are they, Steve?
Well, they weren't out of control. Right, Steve, look at the Liver King versus Joe Rogan case before you say out of control, because they may have saved Joe Rogan's life. They did the right thing. That's the precedent I'm talking about. If you think that they did the wrong thing in that case, and that guy's not disabled, I know that, but if you think they did the wrong thing in that case, when a man was seen to be getting tooled up, not at first, and was closing that distance and saying he wanted to go and see this guy, he didn't say he was going to kill him, but it was obvious what was going on. They stopped him. They stopped him way from the target. They weren't taking that chance, Steve. I don't think that's overreach. I think that is justified caution for a man who's armed and dangerous. And don't forget, over in America, because they can pull out a gun, the wimpiest, most feeble people can be the biggest dangers. That's what makes America so scary, because anybody can pull a gun on you. Anybody. Anyway, we're getting bogged down in this. You there, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, mate. Yeah, just look at this. I sent you a private message, mate. Just have a look on your private messages. FBI were out of control in 2021 and 2024. They went after people for being Catholics as domestic terrorists. Again, I'm not going to get into that, Steve, because I'm not fully versed on what actually happened there, so I can't comment on that at all. So, like I said, we're getting away from the actual content of what we're trying to do on the live stream today. Do you read it, Tom? Tom's disappeared. Tom's kicked himself out of the chat. Right. I think we'll... oh, is he? You're back in, Tom.
Sorry about that. I lost connection.
Right, mate. Yeah, I sent you a private message, mate.
Right, okay. Yeah, rogered on that. Rogered on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
We'll talk about that later when we're offline, mate, yeah?
Yes, no problem. No problem. We've got a list of things anyway. So so where did we get up to, mate?
It's still on screen, mate. Do you want to carry on with this article, or
do you think we've extracted what we need to out of it?
I think we've done the free speech thing, haven't we, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Vin, we've seen that UKIP, Farage, Reform with Farage, he's talked about, how he's going to mass deport people, blah, 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 blah. And yet he's losing, once again, for the second time, he's losing party members. And he is, what's the word? What am I trying to say? He's losing party members, but he's also putting certain demographics in places, the exact same places they would have been. And he's all these people are taking mainstream political members into the parties from the old parties. And more importantly, some of our more intellectual people in this movement are hiding behind what they call democracy. I think we need to get into that now.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think we should single individual groups of people out. But I think it's
no.
They'll know who we're talking about. Obviously, it'll be no secret who we're talking about. But yeah, I think people have reached a point where They originally started out because they saw concerns about the country, pretty much like where we are, mate. But we saw concerns in the country, and they thought, you know what, I've got to speak out against this. But as time has gone on, they've got into a nice little rut where they feel safe and content, and they don't want to go any further. They think pushing the envelope any further would threaten their livelihoods, because that's what, for many of them, this has actually become. And unfortunately, it's become a stagnant circle jerk in some
Yeah,
circumstances. We
yeah,
started to see the interviewers interviewing the interviewers,
yeah.
and when it gets to that
Nep-
stage, it's like diminishing
nepotism.
returns, isn't it?
It's like a nepotism that causes diminishing returns. It's almost like interbreeding.
Yeah,
Um, and here's the other side about it. And I am going to mention Aristotle, but it's not to have a go at the man, as in the man who said it. It's to look at a much wide range of group of people. When people are having these conversations like we have that luxury, I'm getting annoyed because I feel it's intellectually lazy and dishonest. Intellectually lazy and dishonest to talk about philosophical subjects rather than take on the hard ones that are the shit that we are writing now. You can be all high-minded and talk about Aristotle, but when you're not facing what's really going, and then when you do try and face what's going on now, this is a lot of people. You start talking about voting for parties, the very same thing that's caused all this in the first place. The very same ritual that we're only invited for out of symbolism, out of tokenism. It's not for us. And I'm tired of people being intellectually lazy because they're making the money, whatever else, but also because it takes. So, what I said to you earlier offline, Vin, I'll say it again. A lot of people were heroes because they took big risks to get where they are. Some of those people, not all, some of those people have then become scared of losing what they've created and have gone back on their own beliefs in order to keep online. And that's the problem. We've got to be prepared to lose everything in order to succeed in this movement. And they're not.
and I think this is the danger of building a career out of your activism.
Yes,
Because
yes,
the minute you do that, you're already limiting how far you can go with things,
yes,
in my opinion. And it has become stagnant. I mean, it just seems like I think what it is, and we discussed this earlier, didn't we? That these are people that still believe the system works. We know it doesn't work. We've seen the broken
yeah,
system. And I think the people that we're talking about are as far removed from us as the politicians are. They don't know
yeah,
how we live. They've got no clue about our way of life or anything like that. This is why our voices are pretty unique in this. We speak for the working class. These sort of people, they speak for the middle class. They're very middle class themselves. They like to use big words. They like to tell people how important, how intelligent they are.
yeah.
Whereas they don't, you know what I mean. Sometimes they can come across as condescending in what
Pretentious.
they,
Come on, just call it out, Vin. Pretentious.
yeah, pretentious,
Pretentious
yeah,
because they got their platform and they got a brand and now they feel like they're better than.
yeah,
And it's enabling them to avoid the hard questions.
yeah. They've settled into a nice little cozy bit where they don't really have to challenge anything. They can sit in between it and just watch the money flow in, and that's fair
Yeah.
enough. I'm not knocking that. If that's what they
No,
want to do,
that's their
let
thing.
them do it.
Yeah. But what I will say is what not just us, but a few people are offering is that true independence. There's no narrative here. And it's going to upset some people sometimes. Um, but it's an honest attempt at a take on the world rather than one that considers who might be butthurt. Because it's not having a go at anybody, but the problem with this movement is if you get too friendly with too many people, you're treading on landmines because half of the right has now become woke and is offended by words as well now. So I don't want to live inside that trap. And Vin doesn't. We want to be able to call out what's going on the left, right, in the government, or wherever else, whether it fits the narrative or not. It's about using your eyes and ears and seeing what's there.
And this is more or less why we're starting off this new podcast as well. This is what it's going to be
Yeah,
about. It's going to be a rival to that. We're going to try and break out of this stagnation and give people what they really want, an honest opinion about
yeah.
what's really going on in the country without fear of anything that's going to happen to us. We'll just tell the truth. That's it.
And you know what? Me and Vin might not always even agree, and we don't care.
Yeah.
'Cause that would be beautiful.
See, the thing about me and Tom is we've got absolutely no affiliation to any political group at all. None at all.
Exactly. And for me, for any of you that know me from previous things, any associations I've had, gone, buried. So understand, my independence is total.
You see, what's happened with me and Tom is, as time has gone on, some people don't have the ability to reject political ideology, even though they know it's harming the country. We have
Yeah,
that ability.
yeah,
Our worldview is fact-based, so it depends on performance and policy. Are these policies directly helping us and the country? If not, we abandon the people that are saying this stuff and we move to something different. We're not loyal
yeah.
to any political party. These people are not celebrities. They are not rock bands. They're not football teams. I keep saying this, and I think Tom agrees with me, that you should treat political parties like utility companies. If they don't deliver what you want, you move to another one, or you find something that, even if it's an independent candidate, you move to them if they're giving you what you want.
I'd say the same with streamers as well.
Yeah.
I would say the same with streamers. Use your eyes and your ears and your instincts, because you already know deep down when they're compromised, when they're not. I think most people do deep down. They hear the change. They hear the change in tone. And again, that doesn't always mean bad things are happening, but being aware of it still helps, because you know that when people start to shift, I did it and I didn't even know I did it a long time ago. And you start shaping your words to be a bit softer, and that's not what me and Vin are about. Not out to upset anybody, not going after anybody. It's more about having a complete and utter space to say and see and talk, discuss the truth without worrying about whose toes get stepped on, because we're not trying to step on toes. They happen to be there. Sorry, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We just want to be brutally honest without any
Yeah,
constraints on us. We've got no affiliations to anybody. Nobody controls us or anything like that. It's just going to be blunt, like I am in my morning walk videos, like Tom in his morning walk videos and his live streams. Just the blunt truth of what's happening. That's what we're going to give you.
but everything we're doing is with good intentions. So if anybody wants to take offense, that's on them, because they're quite welcome to reach out to us, to discuss to us, to talk to us, or anything else. If they think we've got the wrong idea or anything else, there's no bad, ill karma here, no bad intent. If somebody wants to take offense, that's on them. We're not going to lose sleep.
And that is something we're going to carry on as well. I mean, I do this in my live stream, that at the end of our joint live stream, we'll throw the link out. And if you want to come in and disagree with us, you're quite welcome to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not gonna we're not gonna hide behind this and go, oh, we've got a wall here and we can just, and there's no talking down to anybody. We're all equals here. That's the point. We're all equals and we're having a discussion together about the future and about what we can do.
It was like the last live stream. We had a really good conversation. I mean, we had two other people come in. We had a
Yeah,
conversation. Didn't
yeah,
always agree, but that's what debate is about. That's what conversation is about. It's not an echo
yes.
chamber. You don't have to agree
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah, I think me and Vin as well, we're sick of the echo chamber where everybody just echoes the narrative that came before without questioning it as well, So
Yeah,
if you don't think for yourselves, you're never going to get out of this. And people, this is what I was saying to Vin earlier on, and I'm not particularly singling anyone out because I couldn't name a name, but people are pinning their hopes constantly on even worse and worse and worse candidates and worse and worse and worse systems, because they're afraid of taking the accountability for themselves. It's terrifying for people to suddenly realize their own destiny is in their own hand. It's one of the hardest things to get a human to do. That's why many people like to prefer to be led. They just wouldn't admit that.
I think it's also a pushback from what me and Tom have been seeing on the right recently as well. The privatization of the right as well. It's pushback
Yeah,
against that.
yeah, it is.
Independent
Yeah,
voices, more independent voices, not controlled voices under one group think. Because how are we any better than the left if we do that?
that's right. We don't want to use the tools of the left to defeat them, and also as well, the privatization part. It's left me with a question that I don't need to know the answer to. I just need to know I need to be away from, and that is I don't know if if core of what we do is truly fighting to win, or fighting to exist, and there's a massive difference. And we're fighting for us and our country and everything else. And if I always said from the moment I got into this movement, if I wasn't in alignment with anything that was going on, I would find the right alignment. And I'm not aligned with some of the things that are going on right now.
I'm the same way.
Because they're not Britain, because they're not our country first.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going off at the minute we can't speak about because we know things that you guys don't know, but we're not going to go into that because obviously it's not the right time. But eventually, one day down the line, once we've got our country back, everything will come to light and the truth will come out eventually.
Yeah.
But like I said, we can't speak about that right now. What I'm going to do now is there is something else that we need to talk about. This, so as you know, Keir Starmer has a coalition of the willing. So Europe is pushing for its own European army as an alternative to NATO. Because obviously President Donald Trump is showing his distaste for other NATO members that refuse to pull their weight or he disagrees with them. So this is an interesting, I talked to Tom about this earlier. This is an interesting poster because as we all know, diversity is our strength apparently in absolutely everything. Yeah. Diversity is our strength, Tom. You wouldn't think it. You wouldn't think it, would you? But it apparently it is. But let's.
I can't believe they got the guts to keep saying it. It's you've got to give them credit for the balls to keep saying that in the face of everything that they've done. Diversity is our strength. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
They haven't got a clue about anything. It's just buzzwords. So this is the poster, mate. This is the poster. The European army is taking shape. Do you notice anything about the poster though? About the soldiers on display? Total lack of diversity, mate. A total lack of diversity.
There's no Muslims there.
No. Amazing that, isn't it? About diversity is our strength until it comes to actually fighting for country.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is, do you remember who the enemy was that Europe said they originally wanted to create the European army for?
It was the United States. They want to go against the United States.
The fucking United States. Not China, not Russia, not any of the United States. That's crazy. They said that in front of the world. But
when you're watching TV adverts tonight and you see that every single family portrayed in those adverts is a mixed race family, gay, a single mother, or just making fun of the white man, because that's usually what happens in most of these adverts. The white man is the butt of the jokes. He's the idiot. He's the moron in the advert. He's the stupid one. Take in consideration this advert. Diversity is our strength in every other aspect of our lives, apart from when it comes to fighting for that freedom.
Yeah, and just bear in mind, right? Just to give you an idea, some of you may not know this. On a lot of TV programs now, I'll give an example. When the WWE opens up its credits, I don't watch it, but I know this is true from the TV stuff I read about. When they open their credits, they have to show an equal amount of Latino, African American, blah blah blah, in the credits to open up the show, exactly to the second. If they don't, they've broken some quote or a rule or something. Right, so imagine people go nuts when they see too many white people or even too many black people in stuff. This is the only thing where they put all white people in it and nobody's got a problem with it because they're all being sent to slaughter anyway.
Yeah, exactly. They obviously, this is just more demographic replacement, isn't it? Well, what we're going to do, we can't deport white people. We'll just kill them off. We'll just kill them off in endless wars until we get the demographic we want.
And this picture says as well, and I know I'm hypothesizing, I admit that, but it also says we won't even be asking the Muslim demographic.
Oh, they're exempt. Don't you know? They're exempt, mate.
Yeah. So these people that want to conquer these countries they're in don't want to fight to protect them.
This is what actually says. This is from political. I don't want that. European Union Defence Commissioner, so this is from the European Union. This is their new army. And obviously Britain isn't in there because we're not a part of the EU yet. Even though I think, is that the England flag there on this shoulder that I can just see? Can't tell. Anyway, he says said the bloc should consider establishing a standing military force of 100,000 troops and overhaul the political processes governing defence. Now, don't forget, we signed up to a joint defence force with the EU. I think, was it Boris Johnson and then Keir Starmer?
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, Macron was leading it, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm not going to look at the article because it's behind a paywall. I'm not sure where we stand on copyright with that. So
yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
As you can see, diversity is your strength until it comes to fighting. So yeah,
Finnish flag. Yeah, you're right. It's the Finnish flag.
I think on this,
I'm going to save my opinion on this until Trump is done.
I don't think
Sorry,
it's the England. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. No. Steve said it was a Finnish flag, and I just noticed that he was right. It's a Finnish flag.
Yeah.
No, Capricorn said, "I'm going to save my opinion on all this until Trump has done what he needs to do next week with the WEF." If I'm right, Capricorn, you correct me if I'm wrong. You said to me that you believe that Trump wouldn't let Britain fall into any further disrepair. That was your opinion. Am I remembering right? Because I don't want to misquote you. Yes, a good point. Well, yeah, why weren't we included in that? Mind you, it's still in the. I don't know. It's a good question, actually. It's a good question.
Right, Tom. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, mate? Is there anything else that you need to talk about?
Well, just what Capricorn said there. So Capricorn's confirmed. Says so Capricorn feels that Trump is going to speak to the WEF, and Capricorn thinks that hell's going to break loose. I think, and that Trump's going to stop a lot of the bollocks that's going on. What is your take on that?
My take on that. Well, I can only say what Trump did last time. He went there and basically just said, "Yeah, we're having nothing to do with your policies, and we are actively going to fight against everything that you're trying to implement." And I think this time around, I think he's learned his lesson, because I don't think Trump the last time he was in office really understood the size of the deep state in America. And he realized this time, I've really got to take these people on. I mean, I think he made a mistake in asking Pence to be his what is it? What do you call it? Vice president. That's it. Because he was heavily involved in the deep state. Pence. I think Pence was like a handler for Trump, trying to manage any potential stuff that he was going to do. But this time around, you've noticed with Vance as vice president, he's been a hell of a lot more aggressive.
Yeah,
a hell of a lot more aggressive. So I think,
and smarter.
I agree with Capricorn. I think he's going to come down heavily on the World Economic Forum, because we all know who's behind the World Economic Forum. It's Communist China. They're the real thing.
So when is the actual date of this again? When's this happening? You know, anyone?
I'm not sure about that.
But it might be worth focusing on this date and seeing what comes out of it. Because Starmer's not going to tell us the truth anyway, so we're going to need to look for maybe American news on it.
Yeah, could well do so, mate, on that one. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the link out into the chat. Anybody wants to come in, they can do. But I will say this, I am looking for new people. So if you've been in here before, I probably won't consider you this time around. It's nothing personal. We're just trying to encourage more people to come into the live stream and talk to us, rather than just having a regular group of people that continually come in, because that in itself could become an echo chamber if we're not careful. So we're trying to keep it fresh.
It can create a clique that frightens new people to come in as well sometimes.
Yeah. So we're just trying to mix it up, keep it fresh, and make sure we have different voices that come in from time to time to give their opinions on things. All right.
And don't be worried, right? Don't be worried. I would just say one thing to you. Obviously, once you show your face, so we know that you're not a troll or anything. If you are not prepared to show your face, or if you may have buyer's remorse afterwards, don't come on, because I had an occasion in the past where someone came on and then regretted it afterwards, and it was a little bit of a drama. So make sure you're prepared when you come on, but at the same time, it's just a conversation.
That's a good point, Spawn. I'm glad you raised that one. That's a very good point.
Yeah, no, that's right. A lot of people have raised this point. Spawn, I think, was one of the first people to do it. But
Yeah.
a lot of people have said this, although Steve made a good counterpoint to that as well, which was there was another country. There was another country. Steve, what was the other country you mentioned in this that had the nuclear weapons when we raised this point before? It still doesn't make this point invalid, but you mentioned a country that also had the nukes that we hadn't thought about. Can't remember where it was now.
Yeah, I'm thinking because they're starting to see that Trump is actually stronger than they previously. You've got to forget, right? Trump is actually is probably the only superpower left in the world, apart from China. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
they're acting like a superpower now.
whatever America says goes, because Europe is not a superpower. They're very, very weak.
Yeah.
They can saber
Yeah, they're
rattle.
extremely weak. Yeah.
Yeah, they can saber rattle, but at the end of the day, they have got nothing to back it up with.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'm glad you brought that point up, Tom, as well, about showing your face. And please, if you're going to come in, have your microphone ready before you come in. So
Yeah.
ready to go. Yeah.
And again, be sure you want to show your face on here, because again, you don't want to have buyer's remorse and afterwards decide you want the video taken down, all that stuff, you know. So please make sure it's something you're prepared to do. And with that said, as I said, it's just a conversation. You don't need to do anything special.
So this time around, I'm going to say I'm not going to be having anybody in that's been in before. I'm solely leaving this out to new people to come in and have their opportunity to have a say on things. So you're quite welcome to come in.
We dare you to come in. We challenge you to come in. Whatever works for you. Whatever works. But we're not going to jump on you if you've got a difference of opinion.
Yeah. So we're only asking for people.
Pakistan. Thanks, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, mate. What's up, mate?
No, it was Pakistan was the country I was trying to that Steve raised that had got nukes. That was a Muslim country that I'd completely forgot about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sort something out in the background, mate. If you want to take the lead for a minute.
Yeah, sure thing. So, and I mean, the thing about Pakistan, I don't know how the rules stand with Pakistan at the moment, but I mean, Pakistan has nukes. And this is the only thing that the left or anybody could call out about what's going on in the world at the moment. We leave a country like Pakistan, who we don't have a holiday list for. We wouldn't want to go there. It's not on your holiday list because you're not allowed to go there because it's dangerous. Those are the people who we're importing into our country, and they got nuclear weapons as well. We don't treat them like a threat. We invite them into our country, and they're one of the worst countries out there. We're literally the worst version of the ideology, where it is okay to do things to kids. It is okay. I mean, whilst I understand the strategy of what people like Trump and that are doing by going after the targets they're going after, it does leave a lot to be desired about doing the actual right thing when you're leaving countries like Pakistan to be the way that they are. I mean, at the same time, what do you guys think? Do you think that interference has already been proven to be wrong, but we've then backed off from interference, so that hasn't worked out either? So do you think we should be interfering with other countries, just let them develop by themselves? Honestly. What do you think, guys? You could crown as the enemy of many peoples, especially US public, not even Commonwealth peoples. See, I've asked people a question about this, and I'm a bit confused. A lot of people are blaming Charles for a lot of things, and I am no Charles supporter. In fact, I dislike the guy heartily, and I know where his loyalties are, and I know where he stands. I'm not fooled by that. However, as we've established on previous streams, every single word that the Queen never said, we got maybe except for the odd few here and there, where it was a genuine, spontaneous moment, of which there were few, was pre-written and pre-approved by the government. Therefore, blaming the Queen for any political stance makes no sense. Yes, they have power. They could stand up for us, but the likelihood is here is how it would go. At the moment, there's a stalemate that's been there for quite some time between Parliament and the monarchy. The monarchy has some powers left. They could execute those powers, cause constitutional crises. They could do all kinds of things for a very short period of time, for a very short window, till Parliament then said, right, we're now going to vote to dissolve the monarchy, and the monarchy will cease to exist. And that's why the monarchy doesn't use any powers that it has, because it knows that's exactly what will happen. Those powers are theoretical at this point. Well, I don't like Charles. Why does everybody blame Charles for so much when he hasn't got the power to do anything different anyway, even though he is a prick? Do you get what I'm saying?
There's a good reason to bring it up as well, Tom, about Charles. Even if he could, and for the reasons that you just stated, is the reason he won't. But he doesn't have no motivation to do it either, because he's a member of the Royal Economic Forum.
Yes.
He doesn't want to. He's on board with the agenda. He doesn't want to change things.
And that's what I'm saying. So I realise that he is on their side. But make no mistake, even if he wasn't, it wouldn't make any difference. I think I'm right in saying this. I'm pretty sure I've checked this multiple times now.
I appreciate what you're saying, but none of this would have happened if the Queen was still with us. No, I don't agree with that. It would have still have happened. She would have had to have toed the line. She would have had to have toed the line with what the government said. Like Tom just stated, the monarchy script is written. It's written for them. So the Queen would have been able to do very little, unfortunately.
Sorry about that, Vin. Capricorn, you know I love you. You know I think you're brilliant, but I've got to disagree with you. The Queen would do nothing, and plenty of it. Don't get me wrong, the Queen had relationships with prime ministers and everything else, but at the end of the day, when the Parliament puts their foot down, you think about when Blair got in. Bear in mind, Blair comes from a Queen-hating party. When Blair got in, and they were blaming the narrative against the royal family about Diana, the monarchy was on the edge, and for some reason I don't understand, Blair stepped in and helped the Queen in that. They were about to be obliterated. Then the media are after them. The left got in power, which meant a lot of people went after them. Monarchy nearly didn't survive that. They held on by their fingernails. It was only because the Queen was made to go out in public and made to face the people and made to face the flowers and everything else left for Diana that they kept that role. People hated them. I don't know. It depends if you're alive back then or not, but people hated the monarchy at that point. They were directed to almost by the media. Do you remember, Vin?
Yeah, I do. Right, so I'm going to address this one as well. I'll tell you why it is. As soon as she died, all this kicked off. No, because Keir Starmer got into power. Keir Starmer got into power, then all this kicked off.
Yeah, and all this kicked off as well around Brexit 2015, 2016, and the terrorist attacks 2015, 2016. Plus, it's been a 40-year plan at least. So I get what you're saying, the timing. I do understand what you mean by the timing. I do get that. You know, if you said to me maybe they bumped the Queen off a year earlier, but at the same time, you still wouldn't get much difference with the output of what the monarchy was saying. The only thing I would say is like what Vin said. I think that Charles could put more enthusiasm into it because he believes in it.
Now, if you said to me she stayed in office to prevent Charles getting to power sooner, I might agree with you, because that might have been something she might have done. She knew what he was like and thought, you know what, I'm going to stay in office until I kick the bucket just to keep him out of power. And so his reign isn't as long. Maybe that could have been the case. But as far as political power, no, not at all.
Yeah, they said she was a great supporter of Brexit, but again, that was secondhand information. I mean, I hope she was, because it would make sense for a monarchy to be. But we never. That's what I mean. They're not allowed. They're not allowed to express political views.
Yeah, what they don't understand is, right? The Queen has to express the will of the people, and the will of the people at the time was Brexit. So she would have
Yeah.
had to have echoed that.
Yeah. And she has to be a mouthpiece for the current governing party, Conservative or Labour. She has to be a mouthpiece for that party. If she's going to talk politics, she has to talk what they tell her to say. Otherwise, if she steps out of that role, big trouble. Big trouble.
You've got to think the head of state in name only. That's it.
You also got to think about how this came about. This came about because people had enough of total power by the monarchy. Cromwell took the monarchy's head off, but then the British people didn't like Cromwell because he was basically a fucking king anyway. So they demanded to have a king back. But when they got a king back, Parliament nerfed that. That means weakened. They got the next Charles to accept a far lesser deal for the monarchy, where they weren't in power. They didn't really have the same power anymore. And since then, they've kept scaling it back and back and back. This has been hundreds of years in the making. It's not. Sorry.
You've got to think, right? Parliament is basically the monarchy. It replaced the king. The power of Parliament is basically the king's power, but given to the people. And Parliament is supposed to be, it isn't, obviously it isn't at the minute, it's supposed to be the representation of the people's power, but it's not. So the monarchy has no power. It's just the head of the state. It's just the poster boy for the power of the people. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
We've got something special called the constitutional monarchy, but it is really don't get me wrong, again, the monarchy could cause trouble for all of about 2 weeks until they were wiped out. But it's more a system that we're proud of because we've got a monarchy still, but it's not really a system that relies on the monarchy to work. There's a lot of old rules and systems in there that don't really mean much because the word could just be changed to Parliament and you could forget the monarchy existed. And that's why the monarchy is completely. So when you say that Elizabeth and Charles said nothing because they weren't allowed to. If they had tried, that's what I'm trying to tell you. If they had tried, they could have caused some waves, and then the punishment wouldn't have been a fine, or the punishment would have been the end of the monarchy.
You got to think about their lifestyles. Look at their lifestyles. They've got X amount of lands and titles and money flowing in. Why would you risk that? Unless you were really strong in your convictions, why would you risk any of that being taken away from you and being nothing but just a normal family in Britain? Because that's what would happen to them.
But to the person saying Diana was off 20 years before the Brexit vote, that's my point. That's my point. Is that back then the monarchy was that weakened. That's my point. I'm not trying to connect them together. I'm trying to say they were nearly destroyed back then over something that was relatively trivial. So if they stepped out of their bounds now, it wouldn't be good for them. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to connect it to the Brexit vote. I'm trying to say if you go back enough in time, you will see a moment where the monarchy was nearly destroyed in relatively modern times. That's all I meant. They're not a strong institution because they can be taken down at government will.
They're on a leash. People don't understand the monarchy is on a leash. So when we keep seeing these comments saying, why doesn't Charles dissolve Parliament? It's because he can't. He knows the consequences of that if he did, even if he wanted to, which he doesn't.
And Stefan, you said there's no such thing as not allowed. I'm not denying that they're above the law in terms of the paedophilia and everything else that's gone on. If you're talking about that kind of power, the power that money brings, I agree with you. But if you want to test it the other way, the political way, when have you seen them get involved? When have you seen them make a difference? When have you seen them put their foot down? They haven't done it since one of the older kings now from the last century, probably. They haven't done it because they can't do it. When have you seen it? Why haven't they ever gone? Don't forget, there's two sides to this political spectrum. There's the left and the right. And they've not gone against either for a very, very long time. And yet they're allowed. So if you believe they're above that, why don't they just carry on how they want? Why don't they say what the fuck they want? And why don't they call prime ministers they don't like twats? and tell everybody, oh, I think he's a twat, because they're not allowed.
Right. So I just want to address this as well. She had no power over the armed forces at all because it takes an act of parliament to go to war. So the monarchy has no power over the army. She's the head of the army, but
Yeah,
she
she's the
can't
head of
do
the
anything
army.
with the army unless an act of parliament or the parliament has a vote to say the army can do a certain thing.
I understand the disorientation, by the way, because on paper, it looks like the monarchy has all the power. I do understand where the confusion comes from. She's the head of the military, she's the head of this, she's the head of that. But it's a figure, it's a figurehead as opposed to a head, really. You know? She has to open parliament. She has to open parliament, and that, you know, officially parliament can't open without her. But it would be open within a day anyway, because they would just vote round it. Retinue law, whatever, you know? So yeah, we honour these things out of tradition more than we do out of law.
It's
What I'm
I
trying
think
to
a lot
say.
of people think that the monarchy have more power than they actually have. I think that's a
Yeah,
common mistake, isn't it?
and I'm not saying that they don't have power in terms of mistreating people. Power, again, you know, behind closed doors that you can have for that kind of money. I would not deny that. Who knows what they get up to? But yeah, in terms of in the public sphere, it's a different thing.
No, I'm not saying she had any power. Exactly, the British way of life. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how that fits into anything, though.
I think it's just the way it's come out typed. Just explain it a bit better, mate. It's probably just the way it's come out typed. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there.
You know what? It's like the line from Braveheart. Do you remember what Longshanks said to the Scottish nobles? He said, "We'll make them too greedy and craving for lands to oppose us," and that's exactly what they've done with the monarchy. They've made them too greedy for land and money to oppose the government. That's what they've done.
Yeah, and Charles is it Charles V? Oh God, I think it's Charles. I'm going to get it wrong. I hope it was Charles. Anyway, the Charles that didn't lose his head. You know, it began there. It began there because he was the one that started signing powers away, and they've been signing them away for a very long time. By the time we got to what's her name? Not Elizabeth, the other one, the woman's name. What's the other queen we've had? Mary. Is it?
I think
No, not. Sorry, go on.
right. I'm going to address
Victoria.
this again.
Sorry, Victoria.
Right.
Sorry.
How it was before she was alive, living in the UK, was okay. It wasn't okay though, was it? You only just noticed it now because it's got bad. It was always like this. It's just gotten worse ever since Starmer has took control because things are on steroids now. The Conservatives were doing exactly the same thing while the Queen was still alive. You just didn't notice it because it was a drip feed and it was slow. You notice it now because Starmer's, it's like they've turned up the heat and now you're noticing the heat's been turned up. This was always going on. Like Tom
Yeah,
says,
and again, my world changed in 2015 when we started getting terrorist attacks, Charlie Hebdo, everything else. That was when it changed for me. The Queen was alive.
do you really think the country was okay while the Queen was alive? Do you think the country was okay under lockdown when the Queen was still alive?
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Remember all this because this is what we've been through, and that's going over just the last decade. Queen was alive for most of that. I'm not trying to be a dick to you, by the way, but you know, you've been honest. But the Queen was alive for most of that.
Do you think not the Queen was a damn? No, she had no power. What you're conflating is you're conflating the power of the Queen to what actually happened. It was the government. Starmer got in power, things got bad.
I think from what Stefan says, I think that people think that behind closed doors they've got all the power. I'm sorry, but Henry VIII took care of that. He took so much power that they were never going to let the monarchy have the same power again. They've stripped the monarchy of their power, and for good reason. but they've taken the place. Monarchy just means the singular power, singular person that runs power. Our monarchy is Keir Starmer. Our monarchy is Keir Starmer. Monarchy means a monocular power, a singular power. The monarchy has been exchanged for the man who runs parliament in terms of power. That's just the way it is. I didn't make those rules up. And again, I'm not saying these people don't do some terrible things, get away with some terrible things, or have some powers they shouldn't have. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm no, but I do love the monarchy's history and everything else. But and it's like I don't see how the monarchy can survive now, because it is just a woke-looking mess.
So saying this, no, lockdown gave the government extra powers. That was never returned. No, I'm not saying that they got the power. We have an extremely weak liberal king. Well, what was stopping the Queen? You're saying the Queen had power. So what was stopping the Queen intervening during lockdown? If you think that she had the power to do so, why didn't she intervene? She didn't, did she?
And you're right. He's a weak liberal man. But once he became king, him and the Queen are indistinguishable. They're interchangeable. He says what they tell him to say. From that moment, he actually had more freedom, not much.
Tom, Stefan, we're not having anybody else in today now, mate. We've closed that section off now. We were going to invite people in. It was only going to be for people that had already people that had already been in. Yeah, sorry about that, mate.
Yeah.
But we'll do that next time.
Yeah, we're going to be doing more of these. So
carry on, Tom. Sorry about that, mate.
That's all right. So the monarchy's got some control of the government. So that's not really saying much, is it? What control? Some control of the government. The monarchy, as I've explained it to you, the monarchy has the ability to do some things right now that could really inconvenience the government, even cause a constitutional crisis. Yes, they do have some power. If they execute it, they're done. It's a trade-off. It's like the mutual assured destruction of nuclear weapons, except only one side is assured destruction, and that's the monarchy. That's the best way I can explain it.
It's hard to explain to people because like you were saying, Tom, because she's a head of state, they think, oh well, she's got control over the government, she can dissolve parliament, she can do this, she can do that. She's held the constraints, there are barriers. These barriers were put in place to stop tyrant kings and tyrant queens.
Yeah.
This is why we have this power. This is why their power has been restrained. Parliament replaced their power.
I think Steve's trying to say what I'm trying to get out, and I think he said it a little bit better. He said, I think he's trying to say that the PM is the crown, and that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
The monarchy can call a general election. The monarchy has to be asked to call a general election, and again, it's a formality, and it is a tradition that could be voted out tomorrow. Just saying, it's just a tradition.
Yeah, I think this is what they don't understand. It's like tomorrow the government could just abolish. If they took a vote and said, right, we want to abolish the monarchy, we'll have a vote on it. They could do that. No issues.
Yeah.
We want to get rid of the monarchy. We'll have a vote on it.
Yeah. The person says there, Leafy, when has the monarchy ever intervened? It bloody well should have by now. Exactly. A long time ago. Long time ago. If they were ever going to do anything. Yeah. Yeah. They can't. And I'll tell you what would make me appreciate the monarchy is if they did try and do something, because it would be their destruction, but at least they go down fighting, and it might give the people something to fight for. That would give them a real monarchy to actually appreciate.
I think the most important thing everybody's ignoring here as well is willingness to do it. They may have the power to do it, but do they have the willingness to do it?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I would rather see them try and go down in flames and give us something to fight for than sit doing nothing like they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, what would have given people more hope than for Charles to come out on his Christmas address and say, fight for your country. Come out and fight for your country. Don't take any prisoners. Take your country back. Get freedom of speech back. He could have done that, but he didn't. The Queen could have done that. She didn't.
Yeah. And don't forget, in old times, the king and queen used to be people that would be the rallying call for war and things. They're not even allowed to get involved in that now. They're not even allowed to rally you against your enemies anymore. Think about that.
It,
The
it,
Queen's
it,
speech. The Queen's speech that many people have listened to for years. Not one word of it was hers. Not a word.
it was probably been written by a civil servant, mate. All the
Yeah,
speeches are written by civil
it's
servants.
pre-written, pre-approved. Same at any marriages you've ever seen that. Same at any ceremonies you've ever seen that. Even casual royal things where they have where they speak to the journalists and that on these very controlled things. Everything is pre-written. Everything.
There you go. This is the last time it happened from Steve. The last time was 1975 in Australia, and it was the Queen's representative, Sir John Keir, who dissolved the Parliament. So it wasn't even the Queen that did it, and it wasn't even our country.
And really, it was, and that was, yeah, okay. Yeah, the Queen's speech is written on, spoken on behalf of the PM. Yeah, it's a PM statement. Thank you, Steve, for putting in that phrase in. The Queen's speech is a statement from the Prime Minister. And so are many of our other speeches as well. But particularly, let's focus on the Queen's speech because it's the one that many people put the most importance on. And when that turned to the King, regardless of the fact that he's a useless lefty Jobsworth, he also, even if he wasn't, is bound by exactly the same rules.
Unfortunately, Spawn, Prince William is very much his father's son.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes. And like I say, the only way I could really respect the current monarchy we've got is if they did try and do something. But like I say, it would mean their annihilation. But at least our monarchy would die nobly. You know?
Yeah. Go down in a blaze of glory.
Blaze of glory. Yeah, exactly.
This is from Stefan. So the logic is the government serves the crown as well as the government doesn't serve the crown. It's supposed to, but the government has all the power. That's just tradition. That is just tradition, that part. So the logic is the government serves the crown as well. State police. So who does the government serve? And the power is kept deep, dark places. They all connect on. Well, the power comes from the people, doesn't it? Not from the monarchy.
Yeah, the government's supposed to serve the sovereign people. That's who they're supposed to serve, not the Queen. Then even the Queen itself is supposed to serve you. You're sovereign. Therefore, they rule, they make decisions, but they're supposed to be making decisions on your behalf.
Should we clear up this as well, Tom? Right? Because a lot of people say that Parliament is sovereign. No, the people are sovereign. You are sovereign.
Yes, and this is what we were fighting for when we left Europe. This is what we're fighting for now, to get the government to start recognizing petitions and everything else again, because by doing that, they are robbing us of the sovereignty that is in the agreement between us and Parliament that holds the civility of our country together.
Think about what we say when we talk about a sovereign nation, a sovereign country. We're talking about the people of the country, not the government. Sovereign people of the country. So what happens every general election is you vote and you give that sovereignty to the government, which enables them to govern the country. That's what happens. Then when Parliament is dissolved for a general election, that power returns to the people to vote again, to vote in another government to act as their representatives. That's what happens.
Right. And to Capricorn, but the people don't really have any power. We know that's the problem. Is that people keep going on about this voting game and the Queen and the King and Parliament. None of them are going to save us. We don't have any power. You're right. We should have, because if the sovereignty, and we did have, because if the sovereignty thing was actually upheld, then the Magna Carta and all the things that came after, then our sovereignty would be protected, because we are supposed to be sovereign. That agreement is long-standing. It's only more recent times I've seen it be completely abandoned. So the people truly don't have power now. But I think we did have to a degree at one point when things were out there.
A lot of people bring up the unwritten constitution. And the fact of the matter is, lots of the constitution has been overwritten by modern acts of parliament and laws. So what would need to be done is you need a government to go in there and repeal all that legislation to make the Bill of Rights, to make the constitution legal again. Otherwise, it's just worthless paper.
I agree. I agree. Well, a lot of what you see as well when you look through the laws and that is just leftovers. things that just haven't been changed. You know, like there's bridges that exist for no reason and stuff like that, or train stations in the middle of nowhere. It's a bit like that with our laws as well. Some of our laws are just there's been no reason to change them,
I mean,
so we haven't.
there's a law as well. I think, is it York, that if a Scottish king enters York, you've got a legal right to kill him with a bow and arrow.
Oh yeah,
a
yeah.
longbow.
There's some crazy laws, not just here but in America as well. Crazy, outstanding laws that just have never been addressed.
They've not been repealed or anything. It's just like left in.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't
yeah,
enter Parliament in a suit of armour. You're not allowed to enter Parliament in a
yeah,
suit of armour.
yeah. That's like entering Rome with an army.
Yeah.
So it's because it steals intent. Yeah, they're crazy, isn't it? Crazy, but yeah. So these are the things that are left over. So you're not wrong to point out, you know, monarchy, then government, then people, but that's all on paper. It really comes down to the monarchy is a diplomatic service, and the government is your monarchy. The prime minister is your monarchy, and what happened was they transferred the power from the monarchy to the prime minister. Prime minister gets voted in, so it's called democracy. That's all that's happened. And this happened as a result of, well, the French and all that were having revolutions. We managed to avoid them, but King Charles lost his head because he wouldn't back down to the Parliament, and he didn't open up Parliament for, I think it was like a decade, so they didn't have any power. So they fought back against him and eventually lost his head. And the next Charles was put in a position of having to agree to things that were put on him.
I mean,
So
what a lot of people don't realise when it comes to our constitution, don't forget the American Constitution was written by British people, right? So our Bill of Rights was basically the fundamental platform for how they wrote their constitution, their Bill of Rights. Steve's right here. Steve is right. This is a prime example. Article 5 of Protestants may bear arms.
right.
But now we have the Firearms Act that overrides that. So you're not allowed to bear arms anymore.
Exactly. So this is the thing. This is the thing to sort of bear in mind. And do you know what? It's not that anybody in here has been wrong today. It's just the way things are presented to us and the way they actually are, and in the way these YouTube channels present them to us. Because I've heard people, when I first started my podcast, thankfully I haven't heard this in a long time. When I first started my podcast, I used to have people coming on proudly saying, "I'm YouTube educated," with like it was a badge of honor. You guys don't know how much misinformation's on here. And that's the problem as well, is that people believe too much shit that they see on YouTube. You know, when YouTubers are stealing from other YouTubers, stealing from other YouTubers, stealing from other YouTubers, if the first YouTuber in the chain gets their information wrong, it's the blind leading the blind, leading the blind, leading the blind.
And this is the issue of content farming, because if you're content farming, you're not doing the research yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like Chinese whispers. Eventually, at the end of the line, it's just completely different.
Exactly. And that's why that independence and no narrative is necessary as well. Otherwise, that's the the sanitized environment you create.
There you go. Bill of Rights, 1689, is the basis of the US Constitution and all the basis of the First Amendments. There you go.
Yeah. And a lot of Americans have come over and said, "Hey, look, you guys, we don't want to see this happen to you because you gave us our freedoms." And they do believe that.
That's why they're all concerned about it. I mean, a lot of Americans, I mean, I get a lot of, Tom does, I do. He gets lots of American people on Getter saying, "What the hell is going on in the UK?" I get lots of people commenting, what are you doing? It's like, it's not what we're doing, it's what we're having to tolerate at the minute until people wake up enough so we can do something about it.
Yeah, it's you know, and I've got a window open for people on Getter now, but I'm aware that could be taken away at any time. But it is a constant stream of people, and every person that's joining up over there, the window to America is getting wider and wider. That platform keeps growing. I don't want to jinx it, but it keeps growing in its current weight. There will be some weight we can add from America as well, and that would be important.
Yeah, I want to see that too, Steve. I want to see our unwritten constitution formed into a US constitution like what they've got, where we have free speech enshrined in law and a right to bear arms, because that would take care of all this farmer situation. If they knew that people could bear arms against them and legally remove them from Parliament if they tried to suppress our rights and freedoms. They wouldn't do it.
People need to understand that we've got a constitution, but so many things have overwritten it and whatever else that it's not like the American Constitution. American Constitution is sacrosanct, and it takes more than just a few votes to reverse something on it. It takes about a generation to change anything. We need something like that as our constitution, and many people have asked for it, and nobody wants to give it. Surprise, surprise. And by the way, to Dave, you're right. The people do have the power, but it's not. You're not talking about the same type of power I'm talking about. I'm talking about legal power, mate. I'm talking about legal power. We've been talking about things like kings, queens, government, and stuff like that. If you're talking about people, manpower, attitude, yeah, I agree with you. But that's not the type of power we were talking about. I was talking about the fact that our sovereign vote doesn't mean anything.
No, actually, oh, no, there's nothing in there. I can't do it on here. I thought I could alter the chat because StreamYard does censor a lot of the comments. So what
Yes,
people
it
are
does.
seeing on YouTube, I can't see them on here. So I apologise to
Yeah,
anybody leaving a comment. I can't see your comments on here. Sorry about that.
that's why I'm reading some of these out for you, Vin, because I know what it's like.
I try to highlight as many of your comments as I can, but obviously with YouTube, I can't do that. I
Yeah,
apologise.
so assume that Vin's only seeing anything between 1/3 to 2/3 of the actual comments that are there.
Right, mate.
Did not realise it was live at first. Good to see you, Dave.
Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link one more time. And please, I'm only asking for people that haven't been in before. So if anybody wants to come in before we leave, 5 or 10 minutes, come in, and then we'll call it a day. Yeah?
Good. Yep.
Dropping the link again. I'm only asking for people that haven't been in before. So bear that in mind. Don't take offense if I don't let you in. It's just the last off. If anyone wants to have a chat or anything, maybe somebody that's in the YouTube chat that I can't see that wants to get their point across. That'll be fair, I think.
Yeah, because obviously it's very difficult for you to try and make a point when you're confined by a keyboard, and we know this, and we don't want it to be a one-way thing. If
Yeah.
you've got something to say, it is difficult to keep on keyboard. We know that. And I would just want to say, Vin, I know a lot of what we say may sound combative, but everything we're saying is in good meaning spirit.
yeah.
Because all we want to do is help people and help our country.
Because people come here in the comments with what they think is right, and we know it's not. It's not right. And if you say something that we know is not right, we're not going to like sugarcoat it and just let you keep thinking it. We're going to like tell you about it and think, no, that's not right, because that helps you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same, and it binds us together. And at the same time, if we're wrong, we're both the type of people to go, "Oh, I'm sorry." Do you know what I mean? We are.
You know what, Stefan? I see this argument all the time: void, not repeal. No, if you want to repeal something, you have to repeal it. You have to peel back the original legislation to reveal what was there before. So repealing is it? If you void it, you just void it completely. You're voiding the whole thing. But if you repeal it, you're stripping back the layers to reveal what was there before.
Mm. Exactly. I don't care.
That's it. That's it. You know, this is what I love about this audience. We can disagree, we can argue, but at the end of the day, we can like agree to disagree. That's where we should always be.
Absolutely. And this is why me and Vin are doing this show, because we've also noticed the people that we're getting. You're brilliant. You're brilliant, and we want to do this with you. You know, we're lucky to have you guys come over.
Void repeal, not just go back to England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. I think that's what he wants to do. I think you're on about getting rid of is it Act of Union that that connects Wales, Scotland, and England and Northern Ireland together. I think that's Act of Union.
A disaster for Scotland.
Well, they want it. They
I
want
know,
that. So
I
let them
know.
have it. I'll let
It'll
them have
sink.
it. You know
It'll
what?
sink 'em.
You know when they voted to leave, I wanted them to leave. Like, yeah, you let them leave, but they'll come running back once they realise what that entails.
Oh yeah, but the thing is though, what amazed me is, and so many people around the world, and nothing against you, Scots. I've spoken to many of you about this subject, and I know a lot of you are with me. But you know, the SNP and all the rest of it. Oh, you know, Braveheart and all the rest of it. We want our freedom. We want our freedom to join the EU.
I know, Tom. That's something I never understood. You want your freedom, but to be governed again by another authoritarian group of
But
people.
yeah, 1,000 years fighting so that you can make your freedom even further away from home than it is now. Insane. So
Let's
that
face it, right?
was when I lost my respect for the independence cause. I actually supported it until I saw that and was like, do you know what? Get out of here. You know?
You know what? You know what happened with the SNP, right? They sold the Scottish people a lie that they'd be getting their independence. But what it was really about, it was about the leaders of the SNP getting on the gravy train of the EU. That's what
Yeah,
that was all about.
yeah. And that's what they've always been trying to do in their own way. Same with America and everything else. I'm not saying the Scottish are the bad guys, but I'm saying they've always tried to get a foothold to make themselves into a greater power, like Ireland managed to do, like other places managed to do. But they've either had bad luck, they've had us, or other things have gone wrong for them. But yeah, at the same time, you can't go on and on and on about wanting to be independent and then want to join the EU at the same time. You know, the two opposing ideas.
Oh no, I totally agree with you. But the thing is, if Scotland had left, they would have had no natural resources because they couldn't claim oil from the North Sea oil fields because it's not theirs. They wouldn't have been able to use the pound because that's not theirs. The EU didn't want them. They didn't want an
Yeah.
independent Scotland. They said,
Yeah,
no, we don't want you.
I didn't realize until I looked up what independence would mean for them. I didn't realize that it would mean that their country would probably go into instant recession. And that's why
Yeah,
they want the EU, because they want somebody else subsidizing what they will lose.
yeah. I mean, obviously, you've got to think of Scotland. They get all their free prescriptions. We pay for that. The English taxpayers, Northern Irish taxpayers, the Welsh taxpayers. We all subsidise Scotland in its healthcare. We don't get that privilege. We don't get free prescriptions or anything
Right.
like that. Scotland still does.
Yeah.
So they would be losing a hell of a lot more if they left than they would gain.
There's actually a lot of things that Scotland have got better than us because of the relative autonomy they've got. So they're actually in a good position at the moment. And they're in a good position to carry on with their socialist shit.
Yeah, and that's true. They would have had no voice in the country where they live because they would have had no MPs.
Yeah. So they're not doing so bad right now. Yeah. And I think that's why the SNP sort of fell apart in the end, because people saw through the bullshit anyway, didn't they? They saw what it was really about in the end.
Exactly, but they wouldn't be the Scotland now. No, they wouldn't be. And I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you on that point. It's like, no, they wouldn't have been. And I said, let them leave, but let them find out for themselves what that entails. And then they would have been come begging back saying, no, we don't want to leave now.
But also as well, just bear in mind that we're getting lied to in the same way that we can see them getting lied to and fucked about as well, is this idea of having any power, any choice, or any change. Because, our government is frightened to tell us what we're really reliant on, because we're virtually bankrupt. We are in all kinds of trouble. And Keir Starmer is still saying this is going to be the greatest year. This is going to be the year where you feel the benefits of the suffering.
Yeah, but Tom, he's not talking to us. He's not talking to
No,
us. He's
no.
talking to all the people in the hotels and all the people that are living off the English, British people.
And whatever
That's who he's
trans,
talking to. You know,
and
his
whatever
loyal
trans
voters.
guys. Sorry, I was just going to say whatever trans guys tell you sucking at that time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whichever Ukrainian rent boy he had in his room at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god! The thing is, though, it's crazy. It's crazy. What are they doing? Like, I mean, I know Russia's in a bad state, generally speaking, but it's still a big country that can do big things because it's a big country. And you've got Starmer. Starmer is walking around like a cockerel, like he could beat anyone up. Like he really
Yeah.
is acting like a tough guy. No army to defend himself. There is no European army. Probably the sharpest army in Europe at the moment is the French, and the French haven't exactly got a great historical
You
record.
know what, right? We've all had this, right? Starmer is that cocky little kid that used to call you all the names in the sun, throw stones at you, and go and run behind his mummy when you started to chase after him. That's what Starmer is.
The guy that gets made milk monitor and tries to kick you in the leg and abuse his power, and then when you punch him in the mouth, goes running to the teacher.
That's it. And in this case, he's going running to China.
Yeah. There's a channel I've been watching. I'll bring it up another time, but there's this guy who's doing these takes on really, really taboo subjects, and he's just cutting through the facts of them. And he said, I might not be right, but this is the best research I can find. COVID virus, was it real? Where did it come from? Blah, blah, blah. All Gaza, everything. Goes through all these topics. I'll have to try and remember the name of it for next time. It's actually really, really good. He's trying to give the most balanced answers possible without leaning into any narratives from the internet or anywhere else. It's really interesting because some of the answers you would expect, and some of the answers are quite surprising. It's very balanced.
I will say something else about our podcast. I'm not going for a different subject, but we will actually try to get some bigger profile people to come and have a chat with us. We'll try and reach out to people and see if they'll come in. I mean, a good one would be Graham Moore of the English Constitution Party. It'd be good to hear his views on a few things. Maybe we can be informed on things as well.
It will happen as we break out, and especially if you keep supporting us as we break out. If people get to know Vin and Tom are, then I can tell you it works like a gravitational pull. When they hear what we're talking about, it was the same when I used to do my podcast. They'd hear me talking about the weather and stuff like that. So people from what were they called at the time? For Britain, the scientific parts of that used to come on my channel. They would talk about the climate change and that. The gravitational pull that we'll create, it will pull people in, especially if people see you guys turning up as an audience because they know they've got an audience ready for them, and that's what they want because they want to be exposed. They want their opinions out there. So yeah, I would look forward to that as well, Vin.
Right, final words, Tom. I'll let you wrap up and say what you've got to say, buddy. Is there anything you want to say? Wrapping up.
I'll say that please come join me on Zero News. My channel's called @00News because I had to rename it. But if you come and join me on there, that way when Vin comes over and does it on my channel, you guys will make it worth it for you guys.
There you go.
They're perfect. And for anybody that's coming over, also somebody rumbled us and said Thursdays. That's true. But me and Vin aren't starting from this Thursday, just so you know. So tomorrow, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I know Vin's got some other stuff to do. So mine and Vin's podcast won't be tomorrow, just so you know. Other than that, no, I think we've covered a lot. Always interested in your feedback. That's all. It's interested in your feedback.
Yeah, we've got lots to do on the podcast yet before we reveal it and have it up and running. But yeah, hopefully, not this Thursday, but the Thursday after, we may have some news. We may have. Fingers crossed. But it isn't in the works. It is coming. But when it comes, we'll let you know. Yeah. Right. Thanks for coming on, Tom. As always, it's been awesome, mate. We've had some good conversations.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the fact that we had a bit of heat in here today. It's good. It means there's no echo chamber.
Yeah. It's like if we're all agreeing all the time, it's boring, and we're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And
so
the one thing I really hate is with other podcasts is they don't address the chat. They leave the chat to the side and just don't address. Just keep talking.
Yeah, and I can tell you exactly why as well, because I've heard them talk about it. Because they get to a point where they think the chat's beneath them.
It's like you guys make us what we are. You are the backbone of our channels. If you guys didn't exist, we wouldn't exist, and that's the fact of the matter. It's the truth.
Absolutely. I'd walk away. What's the point? You guys are the lifeblood. So,
right, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. This is Vindicator signing off. Thanks for Tom coming. We shall see you all soon.
Guys.
See you later.
Take care.